controller. That panel was like asking the portion like for we have front end, back end, SQL side, like DB side. So whatever you are good, you will say like okay, we'll start from that, and they will start asking on that portion or that subject line. So for me, they were started from the backend side, API side, and first they will groom it around 5 to 10 minutes, like warm up question type. So you can see this is the question they were asked initially. This question is asked before the coding round. Like after this question, they will give the scenario, they will give the code, and we have to write down in front of them with sharing our screen. So I will share that coding question also, practical question also, what they were asked. If you want that, please write it down in comment. I will share. First we have controller versus controller base, and they ask like what is this first, what is the controller, and when and why to use each. Second question they ask filter. We know in the .NET Core API we have a filter, so we have to give the answer action, result, exception filter, and real use cases, whatever you implemented in your project. Then they ask like temp data versus view data versus view back. Which one should you choose? They given the scenario wise. They have already a set of questions. They are asking with the case study type. Like in this scenario, which one you are going to be used, view back or view data or temp data, like that. Next we have routing in MVC. So how it is working in the .NET Core, conventional or attribute or endpoint routing, which one you are using in your project and which is the best one, why we are using the conventional, sometime why we are using the attribute. So as per your experience in your project, what is the cases when you use this type of routing, you have to give the proper answer. It is not like we are mug up the answers and given that. They are asking very practical. Right now you see the question and the answer is right now in the market it change. They were asking the question with the practical scenario, whenever whatever you are executed particularly in that scenario, in that section or block, they will ask. And this is the question they are asking with the case study, and already they given the one of the URL in that already API is implemented, and in that regarding they were asking these questions. And next question they ask like middleware, model binding and validation. It is a compulsory, whatever we are implementing we have properly validation, like you have a get employee, add employee, update employee. So this is the three cases for the example. Then they are asking in which scenario you are applying the validation and what type of validation. Like for the example, I have add employee, and add employee we have a four section like first name, last name, mobile, employee address, employee code, or MPID and email address, like that, with the some domain name, whatever company name they have, they are given the domain name. So what is the validation you are applying for the update, for the get, for the add. And one case also they were asked like in the get what type of validation you are handling. So we can give the two answer. Firstly we can say in the get we normally not applying the validation. In second cases if you want you can give the answer like we can apply the validation on the email address, like email should not be empty and email should contain the address domain name. But these two cases already we are handling in our add or update endpoint, so why we are needing in the get. So in that scenario you have to give the proper answer if you are using, if you are not using, like that. Hope you are getting what I am trying to be say. Then next question they ask middleware in ASP.NET Core. So what is that, and pipeline execution, custom middleware, and also given the scenario we have a 5 middleware over there, and how they are communicating, like second to fourth or first to third or 2 or 4th we want to be skip. So this 3 case scenario they were asked, and we have to give the answer how they are communicating, how we are bypassing Next we have authentication authorization is a common question. Key differences we have to be explained. And they are asking like authentication authorization we are giving the answer, then they are also asking what type of status code we are returning for the authentication if it is not working, authorization if it is not working, because our API we are 90% we are implementing the return type. If anything happens successfully we are returning the 200. Okay, if similarly authentication or authorization is not working, then what type of status code you are going to be returned. So you have to give the answer for this authentication authorization. We are giving the return type 401 and 403, like you are access but you are not able to access the role over there. So 403 is a forbidden request, like that. Next question we have JWT authentication flow. So how they are executing, give the each and every step, how token generation happen, how validation happen, how refresh token is we are using and validating. Next we have a caching strategy. So why we are using the caching, first they ask, and in which scenario you are using the in-memory or distributed or at cache, when to use watch. Next we have API version. So in the API versioning we have to give the what format. We are using the versioning format header or query format or string format or string type, URL versioning strategy. These are the strategy, we have many more, but what we are commonly using in our project, you are implemented in your project, you have to give the answer, because unnecessary if you are giving the wrong answer over there or false information you will get captured. I mentioned like header and query string, they will ask like, okay, give me the one example, write down in the query. So you have to give the signature of that, how header versioning look like, how query string API versioning look like, how URL versioning look like that. So all these 10 important points we have to give the properly as a coding, like as we are doing the development in front of them. In that point of thought you have to give the answer. Okay, that is I given the high level, but now I will give in the some deep properly answer over there. So we have given this controller versus controller based answer. Controller is used for the MVC application, view plus razor, and controller base is used for the web API only. The key difference we have view support. View support view data, temp data, in controller included, but in the controller base it is a lightweight and return JSON HTTP responses. So for the interview point of view, you are working as a API side or backend side, because the role they are assigning as a BE, backend developer, front end developer, FE and DB side. So on that subject they are asking, so you have to give the answer on that. If you are giving the like, okay, I am using the view data or temp data, then they will again switch into the razor side, front end side, like that. So whatever the category they started first, give in that context the answer. Next we have filter in ASP.NET. What are the filters and their types? So filter run before or after controller actions. We have authorization filter, action filter, result filter, exception filter. And use cases for this we have logging, validation, caching and global error handling. Next we have temp data versus view data and view bag. So difference between them we have to be understand and give the answer. What is a type? View data is a dictionary type, view bag is a dynamic type, temp data is a dictionary type. Then the scope of that, view data have scope of the current request, view bag have a current request, temp data have a across request like 1 to second then third, like that. Use cases, pass data to view for the view data, cleaner syntax for the view bag, and redirect scenario for the temp data. So use temp data when data must survive a redirect. This is the important interview line, I will say. Next we have routing, MVC and .NET Core. How we are doing the routing. Most of the time candidates confuse between the MVC and .NET Core API side, so conflicting that question they're aggressively asking. So maybe you get wrong. That's why I'm giving the cleaner and proper understanding of this type of question, this type of topic. We have conventional routing, which is pattern based. Attribute routing, route to an controller or action. Next we have endpoint routing. It is centralizing, middleware based prefer. Mostly in my cases I am mostly 99% I am using the attribute routing because it is a cleaner and more maintainable for this APIs. Next we have model binding and validation. They will ask what is the model binding. So model binding map HTTP request data, route, query, body to action parameter. And for the validation, we are using the data annotation, require max length, like that, as I mentioned in the previous topic also, previous question also. We have add employee, update employee, get employee. This is the three endpoints. So we are applying the validation on these three cases using the data annotation. And it is automatically check the model state dot is valid. So best practice for this, we have always validated input at the API boundaries. Next we have middleware in ASP.NET Core. So what is the first of all middleware they will ask, then we have to give the answer. It is a component and HTTP request pipeline that handle the request, and it can short circuit or pass to the next middleware. And in the real time scenario we already using this thing in our API: authentication, logging, exception handling. And in this order matter, they will ask again cross question. If we are coming as an exception handling first, then logging, then authentication, it will work. Then we have to be say no, because order is matter. Without authentication, how you are going to be logging, how you are going to be catching exception over there? You have certain roles and authentication over there, then you are able to access the APIs. Next we have authentication versus authorization. So authentication means who are you, authorization means what are the role you have allowed. For the example, we have a login, it is authentication, and role check on that is authorization. Next we have JWT authentication flow questions. So we have to explain each and each one by one, each and each step. First, user login credential, then server validate the identity. We have server generated JWT, then we have client side JWT in every request, then we have server validate token and authorize access. Importance: JWT does not authenticate, it proves the authentication already happened. Caching strategy. Types of caching in ASP.NET Core: we have in-memory cache, which is single server and fast; distributed cache, multi-server; Redis cache, high performance, scalable. And in my case also, I am also using the Redis cache for now. You have load balancer or distributed system, then you use the Redis. Because I am working as a full stack .NET with Angular and React with Azure Cloud, so this Redis is more prominent and widely used in my application. So that's why we are using the Redis cache, because I am doing the load balancer for the distributed system, because my application is very large, enterprise level, microservices architecture containing. Last, we have API versioning. So how can API is version? We have URL version, we have a query string version, we have header versioning. And for the best practices, we have URL versioning is the most visible and commonly used. So if you are mentioning only a wording, they will not happy. You have to give or write the syntax how this will look like that. Okay, so after this is very important question, After this, we have to write the one APIs which include validation, logging, error mechanism, and 3 points, 4 points they mention, and 3 endpoints we have to be create. What endpoints? First, add employee, update employee, get employee, and your role is there as a system admin. So you have to be apply the validation also. If anyone not system admin, then what is the return type you are returning over there? What is the return default dashboard you are returning over there? So this is the like cross cutting question you have to be understand. Or if you're not aware, you can ask like by default what pages we are returning, and on that what columns or what data we have to be show over there. So this topic, this like we have around 1 hours, so for that time period we have to be complete each and everything for the backend perspective. This is I'm asking about for the backend perspective. Next, for the front end also we have another 1 hour session, and after that 30 minutes for the SQL server. And combining all these three things, we are completing our project and returning the output and showing to the interviewer. So it is a single day process. They are giving the 2 hours, 1 hours slot, and back to back you have interviews, and you have to be set up with your system and give the answer. So for that day you have proper system over there without any issues, without any problems. So then you are happy and you are able to give the answer without any issues. If you are really a developer, you are work on the something, then you are able to access, otherwise not. And this is the question I will say ask in the EPAM, because they are very good company. They have product based client also like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and that's why they are taking good interviews process. I will say good interview questions and answer and filtering out. So for the coding question, if you want, please comment it down and like, share, subscribe this channel. Then in the upcoming video I will definitely share those practical questions also. Till then, bye, happy learning, happy coding. And for the next video, whatever you want, please comment it down. I will make those videos, those information, and share you to all. Till then, happy learning, happy coding again. Bye.